Good afternoon. This is Jennifer Tebow again, coming at you. I'm talkative today. What can I say? So much on my mind. Today is still, if you heard the first broadcast today, it is still Thursday, May 16, 2013. Now, my time, it's almost right at noon. But, I am reminded about my own daughter. It's funny. I see her every day, so she reminds me of a lot of things. I'm reminded of this very smart comment that my daughter made when she was 7 years old. She told me, she was telling me about social media, by the way, so I find that to be kind of funny. My daughter told me, Mom, people don't want to know about you or things that you're doing so much as they want to know how to do something. I found that so fascinating. Number one, she was right. Number two, how could she be just 7 years old and know this already? I tell you what, this next generation, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. And so I said, I want to make sure that instead of just inspiring, which I know that inspiration is good too, so I'm definitely not going to stop inspiring. But instead of inspiring, if I'm going to bother to do a second broadcast today, I wanted to insert a how-to. One of the biggest how-tos that I could talk about was really how to make the mommy consultant gig work. Okay, so first of all, what does that mean? It means, how do you survive motherhood while trying to be a consultant? It is quite a challenge and a balancing act. And maybe because I was in gymnastics and that balance beam is only 4 inches wide, maybe that's why I felt like I could make it happen. I could make it work and make that balance work. So I wanted to share my personal experience of how I made the mommy consultant gig work, and then give you just some bits of advice of the how-to if you're in that segment of the population where you are a single mom and you've got, one or several kids at home. I only had one to do this with. So I don't know how well I would have balanced with multiples. I'm going to hope, there's that nasty word. I'd like to believe that I would have handled it almost in the same way. But that segment of the population that says, I'm at home, I've got my kids, they're with me, and how do I tackle being a consultant, which oftentimes has extended hours and travel? So how do you make that work? Okay, so first of all, let me explain my circumstance. So I was looking at, let's see, how old was my daughter? My daughter was 2 years old. She was 2, or actually she was just about to turn 2 years old. And I had just transitioned from being an employee at a very large worldwide accounting firm. And I was transitioning into running my own business, which was exciting until you start thinking about, wait a minute, what if there's a great opportunity for travel? Well, I thought that, and sure enough, I did get this great opportunity with AIG. And it was an awesome contract. I liked the money. So, of course, as a single mother, you really are focusing on the financial compensation as a priority amongst all other things that the gig may give you. So I didn't want to pass it up. Long story short, it seemed like a great opportunity to work with a good company, a good group of people. And it was great compensation as well. But I was going to be an independent consultant. And with this, the first part of the contract started out in my hometown in the Dallas area, but then there was 100% travel. Now, when I thought about this, when I first heard about this, and this was even before I walked in for the first interview, I thought, 100% travel, that's probably going to be a no. And then something tapped me that said, wait a minute, don't pass it up and see if you can make this work. So when I looked more into what the travel looked like, the travel was actually 100% in big chunks. So it started out in Dallas, and then it was going to go to New Orleans for about 2.5 months. And then it was going to go to California for about 11, 12 weeks. And that was what the plan was. And that was the gig. So I thought, okay, so it's almost like having an extended vacation in a place for two different places. And I can make that work because, of course, in my mind, I'm taking my daughter with me. I'm not going to leave her with somebody else. So I actually took my daughter with me, made that decision. So, okay. So I figured out in my mind that I can take her with me. So now I had to figure out the logistics of how could I make this work. All right. And so I thought, all right, well, I'm going, and I was going to be a lead trainer during this contract. So I'm going to train people in a couple of different AIG locations. So I thought, well, these people, some of them may have kids my daughter's age. So clearly, if they're at the office, their child is somewhere. So I'll put my child in that same somewhere too. It's not that difficult. So luckily, this gig was during regular hours. And so I thought, okay, let me try to find a chain. And this broadcast is not sponsored by anybody. They've not paid me to do this. This is really my experience. I decided to go with KinderCare because KinderCare has a national program, and they use the same catalog, the same furniture that they order all their stuff from. So no matter what KinderCare you go into, all the basic structures inside the KinderCare are going to look the same. And so that was important to me for my child, to make sure that she could transition into these new environments and walk in with a level of familiarity. So I thought, okay, so that's good. Plus, when we traveled, we stayed in the KinderCare system, so they could just kind of transfer our little family code from one facility to the next, and that would be simple. Okay, great. So I figured out the KinderCare system, and I just need to try to find a hotel. So, a hotel, with a child for that long, that's got to be nerve-wracking. Well, I decided that I wanted to stay at a Residence Inn. Now, the contract that I was on, I could have stayed at, I guess if you want to call it a fancier hotel. But I actually like the Residence Inn by Marriott for a few reasons. It really did give me the feeling of home, pots and pans, and I got a chance to really recreate home at each location with my child. So it was normal to her. I mean, we were in a different place, and yes, we were in a hotel, but when we came home, Mom still cooked. After I picked her up from daycare, we still watched TV or did our own bonding. We were just in a new place for a temporary moment in time. For her, it was great. Now, for me, I'm trying to figure things out, the lay of the land everywhere that we go. But for her, she had this normal thing going. Now, I did travel with a DVD player because, remember, I had a 2-year-old. So Barney was my best friend during that time so that she could kind of have some of the comforts of home. I also, in the Residence Inn, since we were there for an extended period of time, did some improvements to the room. Like I bought the shower curtain. I bought a new shower curtain because I kind of wanted my own shower curtain, and bought my own rugs. Those few little things. But we had a very, very normal home life, and really was like a hometel, right? We had a normal hometel life. So what I will tell you about that is that you've got to be prepared. That's the biggest thing. When we went to New Orleans, there was actually no KinderCare very close. There was nothing in the city, which I was surprised about in New Orleans at that time. That was in 2004. So there was no KinderCare within the city limits. So I had to actually go with the local daycare. I will tell you that was probably the best daycare that I had ever been at. And they were actually the cheapest, which is really insane to me and insanely good. But there's got to be some faith. So I say that too. There's got to be flexibility and faith that you can make this work. You will make this work. Again, you want to work towards creating home. That's not going to only just help your child. That is going to help you. It's going to ease your nerves. If even though you're going to your hometel, you feel like this is something much more consistent. The other thing is you're going to need to get your rest. And I say that because there are going to be some days if you are traveling with your child that will be challenging. 2 years old is challenging. I don't care where you are. So when you have your opportunity to rest, do that. The interesting part of that is originally we thought the plan was New Orleans for a chunk of time, and then San Ramon, California for a large chunk of time. And I was actually going to ship my vehicle out there. And I went out there for a week ahead of my daughter. I actually let her visit with grandma for that first week. And thank goodness I did, because the first day I was there, I get a call from AIG, and they want me, instead of being there for the 11, 12 weeks that was part of the plan, they wanted me to go implement in their home office. Well, first of all, that was quite an honor to be able to be asked to do that, when they had some in-house trainers that my assumption was that they would have left the home office implementation to the in-house trainers, but I was requested. So cool. Again, flexibility, right? So, and I have to tell the KinderCare in California, thank you, but we actually need to go to New Jersey in Parsippany. And then I had to hightail it back, switch clothes, and go from the California clothes that were planned to New Jersey. It's about to be really cold planned, and there were a lot of little changes, but you have to be flexible and just take a deep breath and take it in stride. And then I had to find a hotel, and the whole system again. But it's hotel and daycare that is the biggest thing. It's a triangle. Find out the location of the office, then try to find where that triangle is between the office, the daycare, and the hotel. And once you figure that out, the system is real simple. You don't even need to know anything else in the city up front. Just get those things down and you will have peace of mind. And then you've got to have this can-do attitude. You're going to make it work. You really must do it. Now, let me tell you some of the benefits of what happened during this experience. For my daughter, she got a chance to see a lot of new places. We went to go see one time when we were in New Jersey, the Statue of Liberty in New York. Now, I call it the Statue of Liberty because she was so young at the time that that's the way she pronounced it. And it tickled me to death every time I heard her say it, because it was just such an exciting adventure. So your children get a chance to see new places for themselves at a young age. And that's exciting because on the weekends, if you're still there at that place, go explore. I mean, this is like field trip time for a child, and it gives you a chance to kind of see new things too. The other thing is that my daughter learned to really adapt to change much easier. And KinderCare was a huge, huge part of that because of the way that their system worked. So she went from KinderCare in New Jersey, and then while we were in New Jersey and we thought that was going to be the end of the road, I was asked to do an implementation in Baltimore area. It's actually Hunt Valley, I believe, Hunt Valley, Maryland, close to Baltimore. So we wound up driving from New Jersey to Baltimore, and we were there for several weeks. We were there, it wound up being through Halloween. We actually did trick-or-treating with one of the employees that was at the AIG office. I tell you, they were so nice. They invited us to their home to trick-or-treat with their kids and put us up for the night because it was kind of hard to get to their house. And just, again, it was just a fun adventure. So you just want to be open to the adventures that you can have. And my daughter got a chance to trick or treat in a whole different way than we would have normally done. So that was different. Now, the only downside for your child is that they may learn to love hotels better than they love home. So when we got back, my daughter's like, I miss hotels. I was like, oh no, I'm so happy to be home. But it was just that fun. And so, that gave me the reassurance that the experience for her was good. And I was like, okay, great. I did a great thing. I remember when we went to New Jersey, the way I did the scheduling, because it was last minute, us rerouting from California to New Jersey, that the day I went to New Jersey was the day I had a meeting that afternoon. And my daughter and I are flying there. I got car service to make it easy because I get lost like nobody's business. And so I thought, okay, I'll do car service just to get situated. And then after my meeting, then I'll rent a car. So I literally pull up to the daycare with car service. Just so happened they gave me a stretch limo. That is not what I ordered. Like, I ordered a sedan, but they brought a limo. So we pull up in a stretch limo. She's in her car seat. And I have to see this daycare for the first time, even though I've spoken to them on the phone, and say, okay, great. And drop my daughter off and say, I'll be back in a couple of hours. Oh, it was a nervous feeling, but the people at KinderCare were so wonderful that I knew that I would be okay. And my daughter was already used to some change at this point because this was not her first travel period during this consulting gig. So we were all good. I mean, I got home, we got to our hotel that evening. Yes, I was tired, but nobody was like stressed out or unnerved. We felt like, okay, this is our unwind time and this is going to be good. And it really was. So for me, my resume didn't suffer. I had this great gig from AIG on my resume, and it really opened the door for other things. And so I say that to say, when you are a single parent, mom or dad, when you're a single parent, you have custody of your child and you're looking at a potential gig that will take you on this travel ride, I want you to really think about how could you make it work, because there are just so many unique ways that you can make your opportunities work for you and your family. And I mean, it really did. I went on to take on a couple of other travel gigs, and it was just as smooth. It worked really, really well. My daughter got a chance to see a lot of different zoos and different places, and I got a chance to see different places as well. And again, most importantly, my resume and my career progression did not suffer. So that was, I think, the best advantage for me. And it gave me this can-do attitude. Like, I literally felt almost invincible after that I survived the terrible twos, which really weren't that terrible, but the terrible twos and the threes. And I traveled with my daughter working a consultant gig. It was really kind of a corporate consulting gig. So I mean, you feel like you can tackle the world, trust me, when you make it past that. And it made me a better professional going through the experience. So hopefully just sharing my story and some of the advantages of how you make it work will be helpful. Again, you have to stay positive, stay open, trust in your own talent, and trust in your ability to make things work and make things happen. And it will be a successful ride. So that's it. I had to get that off my mind. Not sure why, but hopefully it's going to touch somebody along the way. I appreciate you listening. You guys take care. I'm sure I will be talking to you very soon. This is Jennifer Tebow. Today is Thursday, May 16th, 2013. Take care.